So ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to be talking IMSA some, because today was the Road America IMSA round, and we had quite an interesting battle near the front of the field, some interesting championship implications in the DPI field, and some weather, which was quite interesting to add to the strategy of the race. The race itself was quite a chaotic race, I guess. So we're going to talk about that today. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the battle in the DPI class. Now, the number 10 Wayne Taylor Acura started on pole and led the race from pole. One thing I'm going to talk about that's going to be somewhat of a topic later in this video was that the number 60 MEYER SHANK Acura, which had started third, was very clearly having some issues with their car. Under the first full course yellow, they actually came in, took both ends of the car off, and made some pretty major changes to the car in the middle of a race, which, of course, you never know what's going to work with that, so it's quite interesting to see a team, straight up taking the car apart on pit lane and getting a couple of changes done in the span of a lap, by the way. They didn't lose a lap doing that, and sending the car back out. But the changes seemed to work throughout the race. The number 60 was slowly able to work their way up through the field and was back up at the front near the end of the race, which we'll talk about a bit later. The first major strategy move of the race was the number 5 Cadillac was the first of the DPIs to go on to rain tires when some weather was coming in, which ended up putting them in a pretty decent position to not lose much time from, changing to wets on a pit stop. So they got cycled to the front of the field, but slowly fell back down throughout the rest of the race. Skipping somewhat quickly to the end of the race, after the final full course, or the second to last full course yellow, it was probably around 40 minutes left. It was to the point where all of the DPIs could make a stop and with a bit of fuel saving make it to the end of the race. And the number 60 MEYER SHANK Acura, of course, was in the front of the field at that point. They had worked their way back up through the pit stop cycle and had taken the lead and gotten out to a little bit of a lead. But with around 20 minutes left coming through traffic, the number 60 got held up. Their car was handling okay for a car that had straight up been taken apart on pit lane so that they could change major things about the setup in the middle of a race. That's the type of thing I don't think you'd want to generally be doing. But it was running okay. Of course, it was good enough that they were in the lead. But in certain situations, fast corners in traffic, the car didn't exactly handle as well as it seemed like they would have wanted it to. So, coming through GTD traffic in the carousel, the number 60 was getting a bit of a challenge from the number 10 Wayne Taylor Acura behind them. And coming through the carousel, or not the carousel, the corner before the carousel, I forget, there's probably a name for that corner, but I forget what it is. The number 10 was able to get up the inside of the MEYER SHANK car and take the lead of the race. And coming into the carousel, the number 10 was able to get to the outside of some of the GTD cars in the general region. And of course, the number 60, like I had said, was having handling issues in traffic, and it seemed like on faster corners. And that combined meant that they lost about a second in the span of the carousel and the kink trying to get through GTD traffic. Probably 10-ish minutes later, the number 10 got caught up in a pretty bad situation with the GTD cars, and the number 60 ended up right back on the tail of the number 10 car, coming into the same corner, the corner before the carousel, where the move had happened the last time. The number 60, driven by JARVIS at that point, was able to get just up the inside a little bit into the corner. He was right on his bumper, essentially. Wasn't able to actually get alongside him at any point, but of course, the next corner was the carousel and GTD traffic again. So, what ended up happening was that JARVIS lost basically the entire advantage, or almost the entire advantage he had gained, as the number 10 was able to speed around the outside of the GTD traffic like you generally expect from a DPI, but the number 60 was having issues doing that and essentially had to sit behind whatever GTD traffic there was until the exit of that corner. The issue was the number 02, driven by Earl Bamber, was essentially right on the tail of the number 60 at that point. So coming through the carousel, of course, as the 60 is losing time, the next corner up is the kink. Of course, the 60 is trying to get through GTD traffic and all of a sudden having a bit of a challenge from the 02 behind him. And Ollie Jarvis had, in a span of, probably 10 seconds, gone from, I'm going to have a chance at challenging Felipe Albuquerque for the lead, back to, oh no, I'm going to have to worry about the 02 car. I'm going to lose P2. So that pressure, combined with the fact that the car didn't handle well in fast corners, meant that coming through the kink, the number 60 speared straight off the track to the outside, spun across the track into the inside wall at the exit of the kink, which it's going to be a pretty bad crash when that happens. Ended up hitting the front end of the car on the wall and destroying the front end, essentially. Oddly enough, the car came out facing the right direction, and the number 60 was able to drive away. Now, there's 8 minutes left in the race at this point, or around 8 minutes, probably 9 minutes left. What ended up happening, of course, the fact that the number 60 hit the wall, it spewed a ton of debris across the track, right at the exit of the kink. You don't want that. Obviously, a full course yellow had to come out for them to clean that part of the track up. The issue is that the number 60 had came out of the crash in fourth at the time of the yellow. The car wasn't undrivable. The front wheels were facing straight. The car could still move, and while the right front tire was clearly having some issues with tire pressures and the front of the car was essentially completely gone, it could still drive under a yellow. And 8 minutes to finish up a yellow at Road America is not a long time. So what ended up happening was the race finished under yellow. And the number 60 was able to drive the car home in P4, beating out the number 5 and the number 31 Cadillacs, which meant that they got probably an extra 20 or 30-ish points. I'm not very familiar with how the IMSA point systems work. I probably could find how that works somewhere, but I don't exactly know how to go about doing that. Anyways, considering that the number 60 did end up losing the championship lead, they're 18 points behind now, from what the NBC booth said, but 18 points in the IMSA championship standings is like 1 or 2 positions in a race or something. It's not a lot. So the number 60, driving home with a completely busted car, no front end, and only really 3.5 wheels, ended up probably saving themselves 20 or 30 points that, who knows, coming up in a few weeks at Road Atlanta for Petit Le Mans, could end up having quite a big impact on the championship standings, of course, considering that's the last race of the year. Of course, that's the only race remaining for the LMP category. It's not LMP, the prototypes. I can't exactly say LMP because this isn't hypercar, there's Daytona prototypes. So prototypes, that's the only race left for the prototypes. So who knows, that could end up being a somewhat significant thing in the championship for the next the last race of the year for IMSA. But as I had mentioned a few minutes ago, or not exactly mentioned, but I had alluded to a few minutes ago, the number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura ended up coming home with the win this race. Second, of course, was the number 02 Chip Ganassi Cadillac. Third was the number 01 Cadillac. Fourth, obviously, as I had said earlier, the MEYER Shank number 60. Fifth was Tristan Vaudier and Richard Westbrook in the Mustang Sampling Cadillac. And sixth was the number 31 Action Express Cadillac, which they seemed to be somewhat off pace this race. They were, on the lead lap. There were enough. As a matter of fact, there were enough, with yellows and stuff. LMP2s were able to stay on the lead lap. But they were pretty far down the order most of the race. The Acuras and the Chip Ganassi Cadillacs seemed to be the people fighting for the lead. And of course, the Mustang Sampling car was occasionally up there with random, like I had said, strategy. The 31 didn't exactly have any of those. They weren't really fast, and they didn't end up with good strategy from the rain. So they ended up P6 this race. Not a good race for them. Looking down into the LMP2 category, you have Aero Motorsports in the number 18 bringing home the win. Second was the number 8 Tower Motorsports car with Louis Delatraz and John Ferrano. Third was the number 20 High Class Racing car. I forgot some of these LMP2 IMSA team names. Fourth was the number 11 PR1 Mathiasen P2, and fifth was the number 52 PR1 Mathiasen LMP2. And rounding out the LMP2 field in P6 was the number 81 Dragon Speed LMP2. Again, I'm forgetting these team names. Moving on to the LMP3 field, you had Gar Robinson and Felipe Fraga in the number 74 car taking home the P3 win. Second was the number 13 LMP3. Third was the number 54 LMP3. Fourth was the number 30. I'm gonna look at team names here. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna read these off again because I feel weird just reading off numbers because again I don't know what teams those are. So looking at the LMP3 field, the number 74 Riley Motorsports car took home the win. Second was the number 13 AWA Duquesne car. Third was the number 54 Core Autosport P3. Fourth was the number 30 JR3 Racing LMP3. Fourth was the number 58 MLT Motorsports Legier, and fifth was the number 38 Performance Tech Motorsports Legier. I'm just going to read off the top 5 because there's like 10, 12 cars in that class, and I'm not reading off all of them. Plus, I'm just reading this down results order, and there's a couple of, there was an LMP3 that DNF'd and one that was just in the middle of the GTD field. Anyways, moving on to GTD Pro. It was a pretty cool moment because in one of Jack Hawksworth's first couple of races back after his motorcycle injury, he actually came back with Lexus to win overall in the GTD Pro category, of course with him and Ben Barnicoat. Second was the number 9 Pfaff Porsche with Matt Campbell and Matthew Gemini. Third was the number 3 Corvette, who had a pretty quiet race but was able to stay P3. There was somewhat of an interesting battle. I kind of forgot to mention this, between the 9 and the 14 near the end of the race, but Hawksworth was able to, I think it was Ben Barnicoat at the end of the race, was able to get out ahead and hold the lead for the rest of the race, of course, until the yellow came out. Obviously, I had said third. Fourth was the number 23 Heart of Racing Aston for Ross Gunn and Alex Riberas. It was quite a while to the number 25 BMW. Of course, they had some type of issues with their car and finished 8 laps down to the, I guess that's to the DPI field. So that would have been 5 laps down. I'm just reading off a page here. 5 laps down to the GTD Pro field. So obviously the number 25 was a bit off pace. Looking at the GTD, I guess not GTDM, just GTD field, you had the number 57 Windward Mercedes taking the overall class victory, so a pretty good win for them. Second, the number 39 Carbon Lamborghini. Third, the number 12 Vasser-Sullivan Lexus with Frankie Montecalvo and Aaron Telitz. Fourth was the number 1 Paul Miller BMW. And fifth, the number 42 NTE/SSR. I'm just reading this off Spotter Guide. The number 42 Lamborghini. I'm just going to say that because I don't know what that stands for. I'm sure there's some abbreviation there. Anyways, as you might be able to tell, I'm not as well versed in IMSA as I am in other things. This is probably a pretty low quality video. I mean, I'm just reading off of a results sheet for half of this. I kind of feel weird about this. But, I don't know, I thought it was going to be interesting to talk about the DPI battle. And I'm waiting for the IndyCar race to start, so I'm kind of bored. So forgive me if the video quality is a bit low. I apologize. Yeah, I guess that's about it for now. Obviously, I'll try to follow along a little bit more with this for Road Atlanta, for Petit Le Mans coming up in a few weeks. I think that'll actually be quite interesting to cover. I'll try to make. I might end up even doing some full weekend coverage of that. but I don't know, I watched the full IMSA race today, and I thought it'd be interesting to try to cover. So I'll probably have a video for IndyCar at Nashville after that race is over. Of course, I'm probably going to end up posting this during the IndyCar race at some point, depending on how quick I get it out. But of course, you know, a little bit more well-versed in IndyCar, so hopefully the video quality will be a little bit better for that. I kind of feel just a little bit, I don't know, feel like I'm making a video on something I'm not exactly, you know. Anyways, you get what I mean. IndyCar video coming up later today or tomorrow, depending on how things work out. And I also have a video. I picked up some next-gen NASCAR Authentics cars from Target a couple of days ago. I made a Twitter post about that. So I'll be reviewing those. It's not the exact cars I had on there. I ended up switching around which ones I was getting. But I've got 4 cars I'm reviewing for that. So I'll be taking a look at the Lionel next-gen mold for the 164s and just looking at some of the, I guess it's test paint schemes. So that is the next couple of days-ish on this channel, depending on how things work out. I've got school starting up in a couple of days, so that'll be interesting. I was going to say I'll probably end up putting out less videos, but haven't been doing much recently. So I'm going to try to start making videos again, so I guess that's a thing. Hopefully I'll have more of that stuff out, and hopefully you guys will be along for the ride for that. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see y'all after the IndyCar race is over. Bye.